Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Emily Long. First I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Emily Long was born in the early 1990s and lived in Madbury, New Hampshire. Her father, Christopher, was an elementary school teacher, and her mother, Cynthia, was a speech pathologist. After graduating from high school, Emily attended the University of New Hampshire, where she studied the hospitality industry. She had a few different jobs in restaurants and hotels before becoming the manager of a brew pub on the island of Nantucket in Massachusetts. She was fired in December 2016 after cash and alcohol mysteriously disappeared. The police wanted to speak to Emily, but she traveled to Thailand on vacation with her boyfriend. When she returned, Emily was charged with multiple counts of check forgery. Ultimately, the case was dismissed because the restaurant closed. Around the same time, Emily had a son named Parker. After he was born, Emily became romantically involved with a man named Ryan Long. He was a mental health clinician who worked for the Oyster River School District. Ryan adopted Parker, and the family lived together. In 2018, Emily went to work as an office manager for a restaurant chain called Wing It's. Eventually, she became the operations director and managed all 3 locations. In 2019, Emily and Ryan had a daughter together who they named Ryan, just like her father. In July 2020, they paid $370,000 for a 2,800 square foot 5-bedroom house at 14 Mohammed Drive in Madbury. 2022 was a big year for Emily and Ryan. They married, and they had a son named James. Everything seemed to be going well for the Long family, but then in April 2025, they received devastating news. Ryan was diagnosed with brain cancer. His probability of living for the next 5 years was just 5%. Emily became active on a social media platform called TikTok, posting videos almost every day about the diagnosis and how it affected her and her family. She stated that she had been talking with her husband about growing old together just a week before the diagnosis. Now everything had changed. That dream vanished, never to be seen again. Over the next few months, Emily continued posting videos like this. Eventually, her account accumulated over 7,000 followers. On June 18, 2025, Emily's boss, Derek Fisher, confronted her over suspicious financial activity. Derek had noticed that since January 2023, his restaurants had 0 cash deposits. Emily was in charge of collecting the cash from the 3 different restaurant locations. It appeared as though she had stolen the money and deposited it in her bank account. Derek estimated that Emily had taken over $660,000. He asked Emily for some of her financial statements, and she supplied several to him. When he took them to Emily's bank, he was told that the statements had been altered. Derek asked Emily to meet him at her bank on August 11, 2025, so that Emily could retrieve her financial statements from a teller and hand them directly to him. Instead of showing up at the meeting, Emily sent Derek a text message indicating she would resign, although she was willing to stay in a remote capacity if Derek wanted that. Emily had been accused of stealing over $660,000, but still believed her boss might want to keep employing her. When Derek asked about meeting him at her bank, Emily said that she was at an appointment and would not be able to meet until later in the week. Derek contacted the police and reported the theft. On the next day, August 12th, he received another text message from Emily. Without specifically mentioning a topic, Emily apologized. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On August 18, 2025, the police were called at 8:21 p.m. after family members were unable to contact anyone at the Long family house. When the police arrived, they encountered a horrible scene. 48-year-old Ryan Long had been killed after being shot multiple times with a pistol. His 8-year-old son Parker and his 6-year-old daughter Ryan had each been shot 1 time in the head. They did not survive. 34-year-old Emily had also sustained a fatal gunshot wound. 3-year-old James was found in the house alive and unharmed. The investigation revealed that Emily was the shooter. She murdered her husband and 2 of her children at 5:30 a.m. that day. The authorities consider this case to be closed. The investigation into the theft from Emily's employer has been suspended, Derek Fisher indicated he has no intention of trying to recover the stolen funds from the Long family estate. He does not want to penalize the surviving child, James, because James did not do anything wrong. Now moving to my analysis. The videos that Emily posted on social media offer a limited view into her state of mind. Obviously, there was a lot that Emily did not share with her audience, like the stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars part. Emily talked about the impact of her husband's cancer diagnosis with a strong emphasis on her own feelings. Here are a few examples of statements that Emily made in her videos. Taking care of her husband Ryan and her children left Emily feeling stretched thin. She had declined invitations to go out and was feeling isolated. The grief over her husband's impending death was weighing on her chest like a cinder block. Emily thought that her husband had really helped her to express her feelings and to have meaningful and deep conversations. She described him as a loving partner. She felt that all his lessons were now wasted because she would have no one to be vulnerable with after his death. Ryan was worried that their younger son James would not remember him. Again, James was only 3 when Emily became homicidal. Emily indicated that her retirement and bank accounts were under her name only. In early August 2025, she listed items for sale on Facebook Marketplace and talked about the challenging decision to sell Ryan's pickup truck. The family needed money. Emily loved to shop and referred to it as an addiction. She said that, quote, being on a budget should be a crime against humanity, unquote. Just a few days later, Emily indicated that she could not yet bring herself to see a psychotherapist, saying, quote, I hope I make the decision before I feel like it's too late, unquote. Emily used the publishing of her videos as therapy. She believed that her interactions on the videos with her audience was a substitute for that. She continued to struggle with her husband's illness. Emily said, quote, I feel sick to my stomach, like I cannot eat, I cannot sleep, I cannot do anything until this problem is resolved. And obviously this problem is not going anywhere. You can't keep ignoring everything and hoping that it disappears, unquote. This is interesting because she was referring to Ryan's terminal illness, but she was also ignoring her impending legal problems from the alleged theft. Her statement could be interpreted in 2 ways, like she was trying to reveal her fears about being arrested in a subtle way without actually stating that. The walls were closing in on Emily from more than one direction. In the last video that she published, which was recorded in a motor vehicle, Emily indicated that her children were struggling. She also talked about a new plan, which involved her becoming social again. She was tired of being isolated and was ready for a change. Not long after this, Emily killed her husband and 2 of her children. This brings me to the question, what do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Emily had 2 major sources of stress at the time of the murders: her ongoing alleged theft activity, which of course was her fault, and her husband's terminal illness, which was not her fault. Emily made the decision to kill her husband and 2 of her 3 children. When a mother murders her children, it is referred to as maternal filicide. Research has identified several risk factors for this offense. I will take a look at these factors and see how they align with Emily's characteristics. Being under the age of 35 is a risk factor. Emily was 34, so she aligns with this factor. Having a marital status of single, Emily doesn't align here because she was married. Low educational level, Emily had a bachelor's degree, so no alignment here. Being a full-time caregiver, Emily was not a full-time caregiver, although she did have a lot of caregiving responsibilities. Financial difficulties, Emily had financial problems despite stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Low intelligence, Emily did not appear to have low intelligence, although she did make poor decisions. Finally, we see a history of depression, substance use, psychosis, or personality pathology, including cluster B personality pathology. That is, having antisocial, narcissistic, borderline, or histrionic personality traits. Emily mentioned being depressed in her videos, but there are no reports about any formal diagnosis of a mental disorder. When considering all the factors, Emily's characteristics only aligned with 2 or arguably 3 factors. Not a very good match to the typical maternal filicidal offender. What about the motive for this crime? Research has identified 5 common motives. The first motive is fatal maltreatment. This is when the mother kills without the intent to kill. A common precipitant for this type is persistent crying. A common cause of death is severe head trauma. The second motive is an unwanted child. This is when the mother resents the inconvenience caused by caring for a child. For example, she wants to spend time with her friends, but caring for her child interferes with this activity. She feels like her life is becoming restricted. She cannot do what she wants to do. The third motive is altruism. Here the mother decides that death is the best outcome. She kills out of love, or what she believes is love. This motive is more common when there is an impending adverse event, like loss of custody or financial devastation. The fourth motive is psychosis, like the mother has hallucinations or delusions. For instance, a command hallucination orders the mother to kill. The fifth and final motive is partner revenge. Here the mother kills to get revenge on the father, to make him pay for some perceived injustice. This is almost always related to a custody dispute or infidelity. When comparing these 5 motives to the Emily Long murders, 4 can be eliminated right away: fatal maltreatment, unwanted child psychosis, and partner revenge. This leaves only the motive of altruism. It is reasonable to believe altruism was Emily's motive. She committed the murders believing it was the best for her children. In her mind, she prevented them from experiencing a life filled with pain and suffering. The same motive probably drove Emily to kill her husband Ryan. Maybe she believed that she was sparing him from a slow, painful, and lonely death. Emily knew that she was going to be arrested soon and that her husband would be left alone. Emily did not kill her 3-year-old son, James. I think what happened here is that Emily realized that James would not remember any of the terrible events affecting the family. He would have no memory of his father's suffering, no memory of his mother's criminal behavior, which was about to get exposed. James would not remember any of the pain, heartache, and embarrassment. This is why Emily spared his life. The altruism motive only became relevant due to Emily's criminal behavior. Emily set this disaster in motion when she allegedly started stealing in 2023. When she was caught in 2025, there was no way out, and she resorted to murder. Emily was self-centered, greedy, materialistic, cold, callous, impulsive, irresponsible, lacked insight, and had a sense of entitlement. Rather than face the consequences of her criminal behavior, she destroyed her family. She believed it was her prerogative to decide for everyone how their lives would end. Those are my thoughts on the case of Emily Long. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. I think that one could make a pretty good argument that Emily Long, on top of her other negative characteristics, was narcissistic. I've covered many cases where a person who is both depressed and narcissistic decides to kill other people because of their own mistakes or their own pain. So they want everyone to be miserable and to suffer just like them. Most of the time, depression is not accompanied by narcissism. People suffer with this feeling alone. They struggle with it without ever trying to harm anyone else. This is different when we see the self-centered component or the sense of entitlement being added in. When somebody has narcissism, in addition to the depression, it modifies the way they cope with the depression. Narcissism has a negative effect on a lot of different feelings. It can make almost any bad feeling, any negative feeling, worse. Anxiety, obsessiveness, paranoia, and of course depression, as I mentioned, all can become harmful, if not homicidal, when combined with narcissism. This is yet one more reason to be concerned when a person has pronounced narcissistic characteristics. Just a reminder that I have over 300 pre-release videos on my Patreon account. These videos are of the same quality as the videos I release to the public. When I put a video in pre-release status, it usually stays that way for several months, if not a year. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video.